May 14th City of Aztec Commission meeting is officially being called to order. Would you please stand for the invocation and the pledges?
Pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this wonderful day you've given us, Lord, and all the blessings we enjoy in our fine town and our state and our country. Pray you continue to be with the leaders of our country and be with us on this commission and help us to make the best decisions for the city of Aztec and always have our hearts in the right place. And pray you continue to bless our children in our community. We're getting close to the end of the school year, and continue to keep us safe. And let's look forward to a great, safe summer. Let's continue to look over all those in our community that are looking for work and that are enjoying this spring weather, and just help us all to stay safe and keep you in mind, Lord. Just pray you continue to look over us, be with us, and bless us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of Mexico, and the symbol of perfect friendship among the United cultures.
Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Snowden.
Here?
Mayor Pro Tem Price.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Randall.
Here.
Commissioner Lewis.
Here.
All present.
Next is agenda approval. If there are any items that do not meet the approval being heard on this evening's agenda, now is the time to remove those items. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve this evening's agenda as given.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Next up is consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda will be voted upon with one motion. If any item proposed does not meet the approval of all commissioners, a commissioner may request that the item be heard under items from consent agenda. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve the consent agenda as given.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we have no proclamations. Let's see. Citizens input.
Presentations.
You want to do the presentation?
Yeah,
Presentations.
okay. Yeah, I didn't know if we were going to
Yeah,
do that
mine
under a
says
different.
none.
Okay, that's okay. So, I think what happened was with the agenda, when the agenda was put out, we were kind of not 100% certain that the shotgun team was coming, so I just wanted to make sure, and so you're clearly here. So I just want to, I think it's amazing that we have so many great student athletes in this community. And not to steal anybody's thunder, but we had wrestling state champs that were repeat state champs. We've got you guys that are how many times? Three peats, right? So 3 years in a row, you guys have won the shotgun state championships. And I've seen stuff on TV, people shooting like skeet and things like that, and it just blows my mind how good you have to be able to compete at a high level. And we got any freshmen? We've got some middle school kids on the team too, is that right? I know there's at least one or two freshmen. Yeah, because one of them's one of my students, and one of them's the sister of one of my students. So we've got some freshmen. We got sophomores out there? No, at least not here. Juniors? We've got we got any seniors out there? Okay. So we've got the whole spectrum from, middle school kids all the way up through kids that are getting ready to graduate in a week or so. And I just want to tip my hat to you guys for being so dominant, and just kind of the esprit de corps that I've heard about at competitions. I was talking to Lane's dad the other night over a cold adult beverage, and he was just talking about, just kind of some of the little things, the unsung types of stories that you hear at these competitions where the kids are helping one another out, you know, because too often, even at the high school level, we get kind of, you know, kind of clannish and tribalized, and, you know, we're, you know, if you're not from my school, I'm not going to help you, and, you know, you're one of the other kids, so vice versa. And that just doesn't seem to happen at these shotgun competitions, where everybody's there to give someone a hand up, to loan equipment, to, you know, help borrow stuff, and that's the spirit of scholastic athletics, in my opinion. So these folks out here are the example that we should all strive to be, even as adults. You know, we could look to these kids as a way to kind of pattern ourselves and to do a little bit better than we're doing today. So I just want to recognize the 2018-19 New Mexico State Shotgun Champions, Aztec High School. Stand up. Does any captains or coaches, would you like to take a second and, are you the official spokesperson, I think?
I guess I am.
I think we ought to introduce the entire team as well.
I
Yeah,
would,
Coach,
I
that'd
would
be
love
great.
to.
Yes.
I did want to just say thank you for inviting us. We are touched by that. I do want to also thank the community for supporting us. It does take everybody. This is a sport that we don't have any funding other than mom and dad's pocketbooks or when you guys help us with our fundraisers. So I would like to thank the community for supporting us and our awesome parents, because without them, we couldn't do it. So I'm going to introduce our coaches. I did want to add a little bit. Thank you for what you said about our team, and let you know we all are also taking 14 of our students to nationals in Ohio in July. So very excited about that.
You have to report back and let us know how you do.
Yes.
Will do. It'll be the first New Mexico team to attend the Scholastic Nationals. So
That's awesome.
that's exciting. So that aside, I'd like to introduce our head coach, Rory Evanson.
Coach?
Max Clone.
Coach.
Rob McCartney is not here. And then we have, Mrs. Rob McCartney is here.
All right.
And then this year, because we did have 23 athletes this year, coaching staff needed to get bigger. And we've had some parents step up and a senior member. They took the NRA training and they are on board to help us next year. And that's Jared Shaw, Tim Montoya, Garrett Dickens, and I don't see Tom. And Tom Coffin. So, Zane, sorry. Okay, I'm trying to look, yes. And Mrs. Zane Dickens is here. So, and then I'll just let the kids come up and introduce themselves and say what grade they're in. Would that be?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
thank
great. Come on up. Yeah, we'll just go like front row and then just go back and forth.
So I'm Emery McCartney. I go to Piedra Vista High School. I'm on the shotgun team for Aztec High School, and then I'm also in their JHC program. I'm on the rifle team at Piedra Vista. So and I'm a senior.
Yeah,
Awesome.
awesome.
I'm Garrett Dickens. I'm a senior, kind of Aztec High, kind of homeschooled. I was the state champion this year and last year.
Good for you.
So,
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well done.
thank you.
Hi, I'm Marie Foster. I'm a freshman at Aztec High School, and I've been shooting for a year and a half.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
My name is Robbie McCartney. I'm a freshman at Aztec High School, and I've been shooting for 4 years.
I'm Adler Smith. I'm a junior at Aztec High School, and I've been shooting for 3 years now.
My name is Barrett Smith. I'm a freshman, and I've been shooting for 1.5 years now.
My name's Tade Montoya. I go to Kugler. I'm in 7th grade, and I've been shooting for a little under a year.
Oh, wow. Sounds great. That's awesome.
My name's Brooklyn Shaw. I'm a freshman at Aztec High School. I've been shooting for 2 years, and this year I was elected to be the student representative on the NMHS CTA board. thing. Yeah.
You tell your brother he's going to have to explain to me why he's not here with you.
My name is Ultimato. I am a sophomore at Aztec High School, and I've been shooting for about a year and a half.
My name is Kason Calkins. I'm an 8th grader at Heights Middle School, and I've been shooting for a year.
My name is Lane Clone. I'm a senior at Vista Nueva High School, and I've been shooting for 3 years.
Hey, Lane, you're not going to get away that quick. I heard a little something about a scholarship opportunity. Is that right?
Yes.
Maybe just give us a quick. You're gonna hate that I met your dad at 5:50 the other night, 'cause that's where I got all these stories. So if you just take a second, if you don't mind, it's something to really be proud of.
Yeah. In the fall, I will be attending Hastings College in Nebraska on a shooting scholarship.
Congratulations. Well done. And that's something that I did kind of leave out, and that was an oversight on my part, is that, I mean, these are, your traditional high school sports that, I know I played in high school, and a lot of us may have played growing up, and this one, it wasn't even an option when I was a kid, but to realize an educational goal and to be able to go on and to higher education because of your talent in something like this is phenomenal. And I don't think most people really realize that. That's why I think it's important that every chance we get, you guys are very humble and very stoic and quiet, except for this guy coming in here. That's quite an entrance. We're going to have you get up and introduce yourself in a second. So, yeah, you guys need to ring that bell and kind of shout your praises out a little bit more, just to kind of, let folks know what's going on, especially when you're getting scholarships and things like that. That's incredible. So congratulations, and before we give you one last round of applause, I need you to hop up there on your crutches one more time, if you can get up there, and introduce yourself to us. Thanks for coming.
My name is Chris Chisholm. I'm a senior at Aztec High School, and I've been shooting for 4 years.
Awesome.
Good for you.
All right. Well, let's give him a round of applause, too.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I'd like to add one little blurb to the part about the scholarships. We actually, from our organization statewide, had 5 different athletes that I know of offered shooting scholarships. From Aztec, we also had Garrett Dickens offered some, and Amaray McCartney she's actually signed with UTEP.
Oh, wow.
And is
Yeah, I'm
going
sorry, I
on a
didn't know that. I
rifle
just was
scholarship.
talking to them the other night, yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
That's incredible. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say congratulations to all these kids. That's awesome. And this past weekend, we also had our high school baseball and softball teams took the district championships, and then this last weekend they both won their first state playoff game. So both teams are headed to Albuquerque this weekend for the quarterfinals. So, and also our track team had quite a few kids qualify for state, and that'll be this weekend too. So we've got a lot of kids doing great things.
Next meeting, we might have a few more teams in here.
Which is
I hope.
awesome.
So that'd be great.
It's great that we get to recognize them on a positive note, all of them.
Well, Aztec up in the northwest corner of the state's crushing everybody, it sounds like. That's awesome news.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Everybody's
folks.
doing good. Congratulations again.
Okay, I think I'm good for citizens input now. Do we have anybody for citizens input? Okay, nobody signed up?
Oh.
Did you want to sign up, or?
I already signed up.
Okay, we must have overlooked it.
While he's getting that up to you, I'd also like to congratulate everyone on a great day. That was good. I've always wanted to try ski shooting, never tried it, so.
All right, Mr. Dees, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. I'd like to start off, first off, sorry I missed you last time, I had to go out of town, so I didn't make the last meeting. But I've been doing a little light reading, and sorry to get a little serious here, everyone, but I found something that says from Victor Snover, sent Wednesday, April 4th, 2018 to Steve Muller. Subject city letterhead template, town hall style meeting. That's not what I'm worried about. And it says, good afternoon, this is Steve, it says Steve, this is Victor saying, Mr. Snover saying, good morning, or excuse me, good afternoon, sir. I was wondering if I can get a letterhead, Aztec City letterhead. I'm looking to do something like writing a short letter to present to our local students for things like joining the military and so forth. Okay, that's fine. I have no problem with that. Mr. Mueller, he writes back on same day, April 4th, 2018. A few hours later, says, Mayor, I've attached the city letterhead. The use of the letterhead should only be used for official city business. And that's my point. Official city business. A letter signed by you will need to be approved by the commission, as you are a voice of the commission, and speak for them all in capacity as mayor. Here's the rub. April 9th, 5 days later, Mr. Snover here sends the Aztec City letterhead to himself on his personal email. City of Aztec just lost control of that city letterhead. 10 days later, he sends it again to his personal email address. And what I'd like to know, does Mr. Mueller here know that you had sent that to yourself under your own personal email account? And also, does the Aztec City Attorney know that you sent that? Or the rest of these commissioners, do they know that you sent that letterhead to yourself? That is a violation of the New Mexico Open Records Act, because now I, as a citizen, do not have access to your records on that computer of yours. That's a violation. So right there, I ask you right now, step down as mayor, step down as city commissioner. You've broken the law. The New Mexico Open Records Act is nothing to be trifled at. You're not Hillary Clinton. You won't get away with this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're moving into business items, folks. Business item A, Aztec Museum funding request.
I'm Jack Scott.
I might want to give this a little bit.
Oh.
Got a little noisy there for a second.
I'm Jack Scott, representing Aztec Museum Association. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
Good evening.
I have allergies and I'm coughing, so we'll see how. I'm not going to read the letter and stuff. I think probably all of you have seen it in your packets and have information there. Several other things like repairing the Atwood Annex lean-to has problems in the wintertime with ice, we've discovered this year, since we were open all year this year for the first time in a very long time. And your previous funding this year helped us to do that. We paid out money for director throughout the winter, and now we're faced with damage that was done over the winter because of the weather and stuff. And we discovered that our rack card, we had ordered 10,000 of them several years ago, and we have about 50 left, so we're going to need to replace them. If you need more information, I can go into further detail or open it up for questions. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what we're requesting. Sorry. Apologize for this.
I think you were pretty self-explanatory, Jack.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to
Page
get to where
77. 77.
So you're looking for a little additional funding, is that a fair statement?
We're requesting 6,000 more. Original requests when we turned it in last year, was for $50,000. And we received from the commission $10,000. And with the request of the commission to come back later in the year, depending on what else came about for this fund. And so we're back and requesting.
Okay, does anybody have any discussion about this to be considered? Mayor
Mr.
Pro Tem?
Mayor, I'm in support of the $6,000 to the museum for these things that have to be taken care of. Want to keep the museum and the Pioneer Village in good shape, and we're about at the end of our year, and we have $6,800 left. So we can provide the $6,000 to the museum.
I agree.
I do too.
We just give them the rest of it?
But,
68
I mean,
was the
I'm
rest of the
I'm
balance?
for that. We're at, like Commissioner Fry said, we're at the end of the year, and so
That would be really
the
nice.
68, I think we have 6806 left. So I think that would be, totally appropriate.
All right, well,
Do you wanna-
and I'm not opposed to giving, to agreeing with the recommendation of the staff and fellow commissioners. As we move forward, there has been, and maybe some folks can help me with this, because I wasn't there at the actual meetings themselves, or were there actually meetings that took place, Steve, regarding some of the talks about the visitor center and the museum and some of the things that were going on? Some of the back, I guess, I don't know how to phrase it,
Negotiations.
Yeah, negotiations, thank you. And maybe you guys could speak to that a little bit and help clarify that for me as we move forward.
Ed and myself, we talked to Jack and Brian Haggerty about the possibility of the visitor center moving to the museum building there on Main Street, shared some of the costs associated with the building, and potentially helping out with the operations over there, staffing and whatnot. And at the time, we could not come to a way forward from that point to make any changes over there.
What were the sticking points, I guess?
Space primarily, and the layout of the building and stuff. It's, Dale Anderson was also really involved in this, and it was kind of mutually agreed to on both sides that it just wasn't going to work. It would have required space-wise that the visitor center take over the whole top floor, probably. And that would have meant then that the bathrooms would have been on the top floor. We would have had to have vacated the top floor, except for one area, which there would have been display area for the museum, but it would have been surrounded basically with city space, is my understanding. And I wasn't, it was Dale and Brian more so than me. I was peripheral in the discussion. I did attend some of the meetings. But the layout, and that would have left the museum basically in a situation that handicapped accessibility was going to be a real problem getting people in because of the stairway and the 2 stories, especially for access to bathrooms. And cost sharing of utilities and things like that would have been hard to come about an equitable agreement, because it would just been almost impossible to figure out. From what I understand, city staff also, they weren't going to be gaining that much except maybe location on Main Street from where they were, because usable space, they probably had more down in the building they were in as far as their equipment and what they
Right.
do, being able to lock up the manager's space down there and leave the rest of the building open. It might have taken some remodeling up here in the museum building. I can go on. There were kind of a whole list of
Right,
things.
right. And I think that was the big, kind of the idea behind moving the visitor center is location, not necessarily space per se. But more location and an opportunity to share, to kind of share the load and spread the load across, several sets of shoulders instead of just one.
And part of the problem there is there was reluctance on the city's part through the director down at the visitor center. The museum was not going to be kept open. If we didn't have people there, museum would have closed, and that's what we were hoping for, a shared type of staffing for that in case we didn't have, especially throughout the winter months, we could open part-time, and then we were hoping the city staff would be able to basically staff and keep the museum open. And that, from what I understand, was just not workable. There were some problems with that. They're so busy as it is with visitor center that there wasn't going to be opportunities time-wise, staff-wise, is what I'd understood.
Well, a portion of it was, but I think it's something that we can revisit again to look at.
Yeah.
For some, moving forward, I think there's ways that we could share that would benefit both the city as well as.
And one other option too, as I think everyone is aware, the Historical Society they're out of space.
Yeah.
They have to find someplace new. They're actively seeking that. And I think you as city, we as museum need to get with the county, because they are really a county agency, and say, look, county, they are your official depository for county records. You need to come up with a building for them.
So too.
And it's going to have special air conditioning and stuff like that. But it's the county's responsibility to do that, and I think we should band together, and that might be an option for a nice space on Main Street.
Okay. I definitely just think that we need to not let this kind of die, I guess, is what, for lack of a better word, and to come back together fairly soon and try and kind of hash something out here, because our visitor center is kind of tucked back in a obscure corner that I would be willing to bet nobody would know where it is off the top of their head unless you've lived here for a while. And
Definitely needs some better.
Iowa, Georgia.
Well, I'm not suggesting that there aren't people that find it, of course, but to have a Main Avenue location right there in conjunction with the museum and the new North Main stuff that's going to be coming in the next couple of years, I just think it makes more sense, to have the visitor center in the heart of the city. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it. I don't know all the logistics, and I don't claim to be an expert on that, but I definitely think that we could maybe try a little harder to try and make this work.
Certainly sit down again.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple other things. One of our board members, Brian Haggerty, is in the process of moving out of town, but he's going to stay on our board because he's going to be in town at least a week, a month and stuff. And we haven't given our annual report yet because we're trying to arrange a time to where he can be here. Hopefully it's going to be your next meeting. That's at least our target right now, to do that.
Okay.
And we are, along with visitor center type stuff, looking at signage, because our signage for the museum and for visitor center, for that matter, is really lacking for tourists coming into town and for people that have lived here all their lives and don't even know that either one of them are here, which is really strange. But so we're going to be getting with Stephen Saavedra on the signage and doing some discussion with him and trying to figure out a way to improve directions.
Right. Okay. All right, that's all I had. I just wanted to kind of air that out a little bit and see where we were, because I've heard a little bit of hearsay stuff and anecdotal stuff, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to hear it more straight from you in a setting where we're all here and we can kind of be on the same page as we move forward. So, does anybody have any other questions or discussion for Mr. Scott?
Mr. Mayor,
Mayor Pro
just,
Tem.
I agree that we need to meet with the county concerning the San Juan Historical Society, because she's done a presentation here and with the county that they're out of space, and so that could open up some space. I know nothing about that space as to what it could accommodate, but that might spur this thing along to make some changes and expand things to Main Street, so, anyway.
Isn't that the building on Chaco and Rio Grande? Is that where they're holding the Historical Society?
Right next to the museum.
It's
of
on
the old
Main
fire
Street.
Okay,
station.
I'm confusing the two buildings, and I'm sorry, yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, that used to be, they used to store
That
things in
is
there.
kind of illustrative of your point, I think.
Yeah.
And we had discussed with them at the time about a swap from the Visitor Center building over here to our staff moving up on Main Street, but even that building over there is not big enough to meet their needs at this point.
Okay. All right, I am back to the agenda. Okay, so hearing no other further discussion, we'll close it and entertain a motion for item A, Aztec Museum funding request.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to move to approve funding to the Aztec Museum in the amount of $6,806.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Snover,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Wright,
Aye.
Commissioner Syed,
Aye.
Commissioner Randall,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
motion passes 5-0.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Scott.
Very much. I need to take off, so I'm not going to stay.
Okay.
I have a meeting in Bloomfield with.
Enjoy your evening.
council down there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Okay, business item B, final adoption of ordinance 2019-490, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Division 6, Municipal Judge.
Mr. Mayor, that is the ordinance that we discussed a month or
6
so
weeks
ago, I
ago,
think
yeah.
45 days or so, about adjusting the municipal judge's salary, and it will not take effect until the next election for the judge. And as of this date, there have been no other comments that have been submitted in reference to that, so this would be the final adoption.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for item B.
I move to approve final adoption of ordinance 2019-490, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Division 6, Municipal Judge.
Second.
Motion and a second. Carla, please call the roll.
Mayor Snover,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Wright,
Aye.
Commissioner Syed,
Aye.
Commissioner Randall,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Business item C, intent to adopt ordinance 2019-491, excuse me, providing for the annexation to the city of Aztec of contiguous territory located in sections 1, 12, and 13 of T30N, R11W, and sections 6 and 7, T30N, R10W, and NPM San Juan County, New Mexico.
Mr. Mayor, that goes to what we discussed, I think it was last meeting, about the annexation of a portion of BLM land out there by the recreation property, or the recreational tract of land that the city has. And we got a response back from the BLM. They're not opposed to the annexation of it, and this is the start of the adoption process.
Okay. Any questions or discussion for Mr. Mueller? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for item C.
Mr. Mayor,
Sir.
I move to approve intent to adopt ordinance 2019-491, an ordinance providing for the annexation to the city of Aztec of contiguous territory located east of Aztec.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Carla, please call the roll.
Mayor Snover,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Wright,
Aye.
Commissioner Syed,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
Commissioner Randall,
Aye.
motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we have no judicial hearings tonight. Next are commissioner, city manager, and department reports. Mr. Mueller.
I've got the COG meeting in Gallup tomorrow that I will be attending. Probably be back in the office late tomorrow afternoon. Next meeting, we're going to have a presentation from the San Juan Regional Medical Center corporate board members that represent the city. Dr. Barkman has been doing that for, I want to say, close to 25, 30 years or so. And then Roger Collins, I asked him to serve on that same board, and they had a recent meeting, and they're going to be here for that presentation at the next commission meeting. And that's all I have right now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Sunseeker?
I don't have a report.
Okay. Commissioner Lewis?
No real report. They canceled the water commission meeting last week, so.
Commissioner Randall?
At my first
Get rained out?
Yeah.
or at the second library board meeting last week. It's pretty cool. A lot of cool things. Starting the summer reading program and fun stories about it's crazy what some people will do at a library. With all that aside, things seem to be going pretty good over there. Better for some people than others. But, I have lodgers tax next week, and that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Sipe?
I have EDAB on Thursday. That's, I think, all I have coming up in the next little bit. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I attended the You Matter reception as a board member of the San Juan Safe Communities Initiative. And this is 12 high school seniors that were honored for their participation for the year. And of those, there was one young lady from Aztec High School. They meet throughout the year to develop their leadership skills. They apply to the program, and then they do presentations to school children throughout the community. And their presentations are involved in good decision making and resistance to alcohol and drugs. They each gave us a little sample of their presentation. I was very impressed with the young people that are participating. They each received a $1,000 scholarship from the community, and the only thing I can say is too bad we don't have 200 instead of just 12 individuals participating. So that was interesting, and they also work with San Juan County Partnership as well as San Juan Safe Communities Initiative. I attended the board meeting for San Juan County Partnership, and they're reviewing and writing grants to continue substance abuse prevention programming throughout our region. The partnership is also looking for new office space as the college is discontinuing the offices on 30th there where they have been located for many years. And they've got to be out of there by August 31st, so that's going to be a challenge to find the right space for about 10 or 12 staff members. I attended the Municipal League training for land use and zoning education. There was lots of very excellent information provided as we all look forward to future decisions about land use in Aztec. I appreciate the support and opportunity to attend, and I enjoyed the company of Carla Saylor, Stephen Saavedra, and Andrew Camilo. We have outstanding staff here at the city, and I just appreciate them so very much. And there were moments of fun along with the training, so thank you.
Just a couple of things, and then we can move on. Last evening, I got an invite from Chief Hebby of Farmington Police Department, their Farmington Police Chief for the San Juan County, and Chief, correct me if I mess this up, San Juan County Law Enforcement Memorial Ceremony last evening at Farmington Museum, and it's an annual event where we basically take a moment, and it is kind of close to Memorial Day, so it's very relevant, to just take a moment to recognize law enforcement officers across the country with an emphasis on our county, but across the country that have lost their lives during the year, and to pay tribute to them and their families. And it was a very touching ceremony. A couple of speakers, the formality of the color guard and the 21 gun salute. It was very moving, and I felt privileged to be able to be part of it. So That was last evening, and I hope to take part, in years to come. One other thing, really, is the school year's about over, so there's a bunch of teenagers with spring fever running around, especially during the middle of the day, cutting out of school and peeling out of the parking lots and all that more than normal. So just kind of be on your toes a little bit and be watching out for them because they may not be watching out for you. Okay, so just be careful. We'd hate to have a tragedy or an avoidable accident this close to the end of the school year before we turn all these kids loose on their parents and the rest of the city and community for the summer. So I've noticed the splash pad is starting to get pretty crowded too as the temperatures heat up. And one other thing I was very privileged to do, I started doing this last year after we got elected, and I would like to continue doing this. I have the privilege of recognizing all of the seniors at Senior Awards Night at Aztec High School. The principal and administration were kind enough to include me the last 2 years to be able to use city letterhead for these letters that recognize young men and women that heed the call to join the military and to defend their country and the rights that we all are privileged to sit up here and exercise. So it's always a privilege to see young kids heeding that call and taking that oath and preparing to move on to basic training over the summer. And we have a couple of more that are juniors that are moving on to basic training, doing a split option in the National Guard. So I'll get to recognize them next year. And it's always, it's just one of the perks and privileges of being on the commission. So I appreciate you guys lending me that privilege of being able to do that. So thank you, and that's all I have. So we'll move on to department head reports if anybody has one.
If you would allow me just one moment, you talked about the memorial law enforcement last night.
Sir.
It has special meaning to my heart for several reasons. One, I was in the 1st Academy over city of Farmington. Sergeant Landeck was the sergeant over that at the time. The next academy, he was promoted, by then he had been promoted to lieutenant. He was killed in a training exercise. They were in there, they were doing domestic violence situations, and the cadets emptied their weapons, and so they didn't have live ammo in their weapons. Well, they were calling for a backup under one scenario. One of the cadets forgot that he had loaded his gun again, and one of the cadet had his arms around Lieutenant Landeck, holding him, fighting with him, and he drew and fired, went through the cadet, went in and killed Lieutenant Landeck. So it has a lot of meaning to me. I spent a lot of months very, very closely with that man, did lots of running. So to me, it was really a little different and a little more difficult last night. And I appreciate you coming and supporting that. Another one, I helped put the program together. We had a community service officer over in Farmington. I helped put that program together. They were doing vacation checks, one of them, Vicki Chavez. And she went over to this man's mother's house, and she was going to be gone, and no one was supposed to be there. And before she could get out of the car, the son came out and killed her sitting in the car. So I was there with both of those and had very much to do with those. Officer Thode, who was an officer, went over to war and was killed over there. I knew him. I knew of him. And the officer in Bloomfield that was killed at the accident, I didn't know him personally, but I was around and here when that happened. The 2 state police officers, one of them that was killed was a brother to one of the Farmington officers. We knew what they were doing that day. They were running radar. So it really brings it home that when law enforcement officers are killed, it's not just unnamed people and people without a face. To me, almost every one of those, and then the Navajo officer that was killed also was there, and his wife was there, and I was here when that happened. So they're not just unknown names. They're people that we know and love, have trusted and worked with, And so, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming to that. It meant a lot to me being there. And then I was able to go up and look at them and give them another salute for the service that they gave, and they gave all for the citizens. So I'm sorry, I know I took a little more, but thank you very much for allowing me to just share a little bit about how important that memorial was to some of us that have been around probably too long. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. George?
Just a quick note, I want to give you guys a heads up, FYI. The manager and I met with Guzman Energy today. They have proposed a new 10-year agreement with us, actually lowering our rate for the next 10 years. They've brought on contracts since our very first one 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Some bigger players, which means their buying power is much greater, and they're willing to give us an advantage to that. So after talking to Steve today, I think we're going to plan a workshop, fill you guys in on what's going on. The second thing I wanted to mention was in the budget, Kathy had mentioned we're about ready to spend about $6.5 million. I'll want to sit down with the commission and make sure you guys fully understand what we're doing and what we're going to spend that money on. So just an FYI, if I can work it out, maybe prior to the next commission meeting, we can sit down and talk.
Okay. All right. Thanks, sir. Mr. Morris?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I wanted to just talk about, there's a couple things going on or have gone on in Public Works that I would suspect that you might get questions from your constituents. I wanted to fill you in. The first one is that we just started yesterday a hydrant testing and hydrant flushing program. Basically, it's designed, one, to measure how much flow you can get out of the hydrant so that we're sure that the fire department can get up there and get the water they need for fighting a fire. But also, it's also designed to remove the sediment from the distribution system. And my understanding is this is the first time in 8 years that we're going to do all the hydrants in the city at one time. We've been doing them since I got here. We've done them many times when people call and say they've got an issue with sediment. We go out and flush the hydrants to clear them out. But this time we're starting in the center of the city and moving out, and we're going to do all the hydrants, and we're testing all the hydrants. So it's by design, we're disturbing sediment. So it's going to end up in people's faucets, and you'll probably get some phone calls, but that's what's going on. The second thing I wanted to talk about is what happened, I guess it was about 3 weeks now, is the sewage overflow at the pump station that flowed into the river. And I wanted to talk about that because I did see that on the media, or at least the what do they call it? Not the personal media, but the
social media.
Social media, thank you. Which obviously I don't read very much, but there were some people that were talking about the city should spend their money on getting an emergency generator and protect the river. I wanted you to know that we have an emergency generator. We have an automatic transfer switch, and we have a sensor, and we have an alarm system that's supposed to notify us when it happened, and it all failed. So there was protections there. The issue was that it was designed that if the first breaker, or if there was a power surge, it would close a breaker, shut off the power to a certain area. The system would sense that the power was shut off. It would start the emergency generator, and it would run the pumps. Well, what happened is that breaker did not trip. The next one in line that's on the pump panel tripped. So the sensor and the generator were thinking, hey, everything's fine, and didn't send a signal. The real crux here was that the alarm system was powered by that panel where the breaker tripped. So the alarm system was shut off with that breaker tripping. And the last line of defense would have been, our guys would have noticed that there was a break in communications there, but unfortunately we've been having a break in communications about 12 times a day, so they didn't even pay attention. It was just another one of those breaks in communication. So just wanted to let you know that the city does have a very good system to protect that pump station. It was just kind of a, the worst storm possible. And we are working towards, one, getting a better line of communication so that they're not crying, they're not, next time that the communication stops, they're not going to say, oh, there it goes again. They're going to notice it and do something. But we also want to power the alarm system before that first breaker so that it doesn't, it will be powered in the event that that breaker would trip again the next time. And as luck would have it, the panel that was the problem is slated to be replaced next year, and we're going to put it in a building. And this was not the cause of the problem. We don't know actually whether it was an external surge, whether it was something at the pump, because there's breakers before and after that didn't trip, and this one did trip, and they were all rated approximately the same, so it was confusing. The breaker that was there was adjustable, and we think it was just turned down, so it didn't trip the first breaker that was rated for 150 amps, but it tripped the second one that was. So nobody foresaw it. So I just wanted to let you know that that's what happened. There is an emergency generator, there is a system, we're working on fixing the issues, and we should be back running safely and be able to prevent this in the future.
So is that like a maintenance thing that can be tended to, maybe to check it on a different frequency?
Well, we are
or?
checking it twice a day now
Okay.
to make sure. The issue here was it shut off. They didn't know, and it probably was discharging for 6 or more hours until the police came by and smelled something, because it was coming out the side and running into the ditch, and it was right there at the park. People were using the park, and nobody noticed, and we didn't get the alarm. So the biggest thing is we want to make sure we get the alarm. Things happen, power gets shut off, things don't work, but if you get the alarm and we got there, it would have probably prevented it or at least minimized any spill, and we just didn't know. So the big thing we're working on is the notification and to make sure it's powered separately and that we have a good connection. And we've already done stuff in the interim to fix it, but on the long term we want to fix it so that it's fixed for good.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
Thank
Thanks.
you. Anybody else? Any other department heads? All right. Hearing none, I would move to adjourn.
Second. Third, fourth.